is one part of the work that I do with the Outside Institute. Foraging is something that's become very popular in recent years, especially with young people. People get very excited about the idea of running outside and finding something free to eat. So initially, I found it very enraging that that was the only reason that people wanted to go out to the woods. But my husband talked me off the ledge and said, just call your walks foraging walks, and then more people will sign up, and then you can teach them whatever you want. So really, my mission with the Outside Institute, which I founded here in this area in 2017, is to connect people to the what I call the healing and transformative powers of nature. And when I came to speak here today, I asked Tom what he thought would be, intriguing for you all, and he gave me a few prompts, and they were largely centered on how nature can help us connect to our spirituality and to a sense of community. And also, how do people who don't necessarily consider themselves outdoorsy per se take advantage of the benefits of nature? So that's kind of how I'm going to address my comments today. That's another something that always kind of got my back up a little bit, was when people would say, well, I'm not outdoorsy. I don't know what that means, because we are all descended from people who had nothing but the outdoors. I mean, our very nature is as creatures of the earth. And, the modern condition really divides us from that and makes us feel like we don't have a place outside if, for instance, we are not hiking or climbing a mountain or diving into a river. And especially as we get older, those things start to feel really inaccessible. So I want to talk with you a little bit about how simple it is to really reap the benefits of the outdoors without having to go very far from your own doorstep even. I was going to end with this poem, but I feel like starting with it. It's a poem by Mary Oliver. It's actually a book-length poem. I'm just going to read an excerpt from it. It's called The Leaf and the Cloud. If you're not familiar with Mary Oliver, she passed about 5 years ago now, I think, but she's a wonderful poet whose subject matter is almost always rooted in nature. I rose this morning early as usual and went to my desk, but it's spring, and the thrush is in the woods, somewhere in the twirled branches, and he is singing. And so now I am standing by the open door, and now I am stepping down into the grass. I am touching a few leaves. I am noticing the way the yellow butterflies move together in a twinkling cloud over the field. And I am thinking, maybe just looking and listening is the real work. Maybe the world without us is the real poem. And I feel like that's a beautiful and apt way to enter into this thinking about what it means to connect to nature. And I wonder if I asked you a question, not really for you to raise your hand and answer, but just to consider, when was the last time that you were outside, really outside, and you felt something shift? So maybe you were just enjoying a moment, inhaling the air. Maybe it was seeing the light sparkle on the river, or sitting on the porch and listening to a bird sing like Mary Oliver. But wherever it was, maybe you were suddenly lost in the moment. Something happens to us when we step outside and get still in a natural space. It does touch the spirit, and it also creates a physical reaction in every human. The good news is you don't have to climb a mountain or get special gear or, be an adventurer to really experience this. You only have to be willing to step outside of your door. And every faith tradition also makes this connection for us. Moses encounters the divine in a burning bush outdoors on the mountain. Jesus goes to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray outside. The Buddha found enlightenment sitting under the Bodhi tree, also outside. And indigenous traditions everywhere treat the land itself as sacred. The tribes native to this region, which they call the Lenape-Hoking, considered it to be deeply tied to physical and spiritual healing. In fact, on Heidi's land, there's a giant stone that the Lenape considered to be a portal to the other world. So this area is especially resonant with a kind of healing spiritual power. So we all have access to this. Like I said, it's our birthright. For 200,000 years, we lived as hunter-gatherers on the land. We were in sync with the seasons and cycles and intimate with the plants and animals, really interconnected, as Lori was saying. So it's really left an impression on us. It's literally in our DNA. This is who we are as creatures of the earth. And our bodies remember this. So even if you don't feel it, your body will instantly acclimate to being outside. Or maybe not instantly. That might be an overstatement. I think many of us have built up layers and layers and layers of protection and fears. We're afraid of ticks. We're afraid of spiders. We're afraid of mosquitoes. We're afraid of sunburn. Many ways to kind of shield ourselves from nature. And so how do we break down those barriers so that we can access all the many benefits that it has to offer us? There's so many scientific studies out now talking about the benefits of nature and how we can connect with it. They've come up with this phrase, which I kind of like, soft fascination. It describes what happens when we kind of allow our attention to be gently captured, not like the hard, demanding focus that you have to bring to a computer screen or your phone or some problem you're trying to solve, but just an easy attention when something catches your eye, say, leaves moving, or, I brought a few things that I found beautiful just in the landscape. Today I saw these irises. They were just blooming around the pond right here in Narrowsburg, right? And when I got back into the car, I saw this amazing pineapple weed that's growing everywhere now. It's actually in the chamomile family. I'm going to give you each a little piece to hold. And just squeeze it a little gently in your hand to release the fragrance, and then give it a little sniff.
What's it called again?
It's called pineapple weed.
Yeah, it smells like pineapple.
Well, take that.
It smells like what? I don't smell it.
Yeah, it does smell a little bit like pineapple, right? I brought a bird's nest. This is a vireo nest. I brought a piece of birch bark that has been drilled by sapsuckers, making this amazing pattern. I brought an oak gall, which is this incredible little insect cocoon that falls from oak trees. I brought a pheasant feather that I found when I was harvesting knotweed the other day. Just the kind of things that can catch your eye and with color or detail or shape, catch your attention. And the soft fascination that you bring to something like that stills your monkey mind, that part of our brain that's always narrating, always, grabbing for our attention, always worrying. Nature really helps to turn the volume down on that. And when that internal noise gets quiet, something else comes through. You can think of it as peace. You can call it tapping into your higher self. Some people call it God. Whatever word works for you, they all describe the same experience, a sense of being held by something bigger. Mary Oliver calls that finding your place in the family of things. And I think it refers to this sense of belonging, being part of a vast universe. Feels very comforting to me. There's a psychologist at UC Berkeley. His name is Dr. Keltner. He spent many years studying awe, that feeling of being in the presence of something that makes you feel small in the best possible way. His research on awe found that experiences of awe reduce self-centeredness, increase feelings of connections to others, make people more generous and compassionate. And this is really remarkable, give you more of a sense of meaning and purpose. And among the triggers of awe that he's found is nature. The roar of thunder, or the beautiful colors on that iris, the intricate patterns of that pheasant feather. When we share these awe-inspiring experiences with others, they become amplified. The same thing happens when we worship together, or listen to music together, or share a ritual. When people watch the same sunset together, or sit by the same fire, or walk the same path, even in silence, something passes between them. Something that doesn't require a sermon or a program, it just happens. And there's a name for this too. It's a phenomenon that they've named collective effervescence. The feeling of being lifted up by sharing experience together. Nature gives us that for free, outside, anytime. The spiritual dimension that it offers us is profound, and there's lots of other evidence as well. One study found that people who walked for 90 minutes in a natural environment showed significantly lower activity in the region of the brain associated with depression and rumination. That loop of negative thinking that so many of us know so well. That same walk in an urban environment does not deliver any of the same benefits. A Finnish study found that spending just 5 hours per month in nature, that's just a little over an hour per week, was enough to significantly improve mental well-being. 5 hours a month. It's really not a big deal. So, in addition to all the sort of science and studies that have been done, I like to throw my 2 cents in, which is that you can't really underestimate pleasure as a reason for being outside. I mean, that's why I do it. There's just so much beauty to behold, right? And the amazing colors and the fragrance of the flowers, and when you know what to nibble on, the delicious flavors, and the sensuality of cool water that you can put your feet into, or just feeling the air caress your skin. Nibbling on a blackberry, that you can recognize, right? A sweet berry that's still warm from the sun. It's an amazing experience, and it affects you at a cellular level. It's very refreshing. Just the ability to engage all your senses. It's more of a distraction from real life than any book you can read or any TV program you're going to watch, right? I feel like part of being at home when you're outside is letting your senses become engaged, letting your springs unwind, and then also realizing how accepted you are by everything in nature. I was on a walk yesterday with some people. We went to a bog, and part of accessing the bog was having to bushwhack through all of this rhododendron, and it was pretty hairy, and I had all kinds of stuff in my hair. And when I came out, I said, "Oh, is my hair okay?" And my friend Richard that I was walking with said, "Your hair is always okay in nature, because nobody cares. No chipmunk's going to run up to you and be like, 'Where did you get those shoes?' Right? Nobody cares. No bird cares if you color your hair or how much you weigh or what's in your bank account. It's a very non-judgmental space to be in, and very, very freeing that way, I think. So when you spend time outside, You up your vitamin D production, right? Most Americans, especially seniors, are super deficient in vitamin D. So you're getting a dose of that. You're lowering your blood pressure and your cortisol levels. Nature literally calms your stress response. I don't know if you've heard of this thing called forest bathing. It was invented by the Japanese in the 1980s. The government created a program there that to encourage citizens to walk under trees. Now, I'm pretty sure that humanity's been doing that since the dawn of time, but if you want to put a name on it and say you invented it, okay, that's what the Japanese government did. But they studied it and they found that it consistently lowers your cortisol, your stress hormones. It reduces your blood pressure. It's immune boosting, and you can really do it anywhere. It doesn't have to be in a forest. Anywhere there's trees or plants, in a garden, spending a little time there is incredibly great for your health. It improves your sleep. Exposure to natural light helps regulate your circadian rhythms. So better sleep means better everything else, as far as I can tell. It reduces inflammation related to heart disease and arthritis. It improves mobility and strength, just from walking on uneven surfaces or even just standing. For seniors, loneliness and isolation are among the most serious health risks, comparable to the impact of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And depression in older adults is significantly underdiagnosed and undertreated. So while nature might not be a cure-all, it's definitely a genuine, accessible intervention. It reduces symptoms of anxiety and depression. It increases feelings of vitality and energy. It provides gentle sensory stimulation that combats the isolation of numbness. And when done in community, it directly addresses loneliness. So there's some very simple, doable ways to access this. I made a list for you, and I also made some resources that I printed out for you there. But it's as easy as sitting on a bench under some trees for 20 minutes. You don't even have to walk. You don't have to do anything at all. Just be there. You can eat a meal outside. Just take the same meal and put it outside. Bang, you're in nature. You can even just open a window. Research shows that just having access to natural light and fresh air, especially with a view of trees, has a measurable health benefit. Outside is better. If you can't get outside, at least stick your head out the window. I said that to people all the time during COVID. People in the city were like, what can I do? I said, look at the sky. Garden, even in a small way. Container gardening, community garden plots, window boxes, because getting your hands in the soil releases a bacteria, Mycobacterium vaccae, they first found it in cow dung, that acts as a natural antidepressant. Getting your hands dirty is an antidepressant. And you can develop a morning sunlight habit. Just step outside for 10 minutes, take a cup of coffee with you, and get some light on your face. It's really beneficial. The barrier is almost never physical. It's almost always this story that you tell yourself that, well, nature, it's just not for me, or I need to do it right to do it at all. Well, you don't, just need to do it. So let's think for a minute about what we've talked about. Spiritual opening, the health benefits, and let's think a little bit more about how we can do this in community, because that amplifies it just that much more. Humans are social creatures. We're made for belonging. And as we age, the structures that used to give us that, the workplaces, the raising of children, the neighborhood life, often that comes to an end or it changes. So we enter a different season of life, and it requires us to be more intentional about building community. Here's what I love about using outdoor time as a community building tool. It removes the pressure. When you're sitting across the table from someone, there's an expectation of conversation, of eye contact, of performing somehow. But when you're walking side by side or sitting together watching something in nature, the pressure's gone. Silence is part of it. It becomes more comfortable. Conversation happens more naturally and often more deeply because you're both looking out at something rather than at each other. Therapists have a term for this. It's called parallel process. And it's one of the reasons walking or even driving, maybe you've experienced this in a car, conversations are often more vulnerable and honest. So here's a few ideas for getting outside together. Slow walk. It's not exercise, it's not a hike, it's not getting in your steps. It's a slow, intentional walk with a couple of people. You're not going somewhere. You're just moving together and noticing things. Maybe you pick a theme. Today, tell me something that you noticed that caught your eye. Find a color that inspires you. Or just walk in companionable silence. 10 minutes can feel like enough to build a real connection. Coffee outdoors. What if one morning a week, a small group just brought their coffee or tea outside? A porch, courtyard, a picnic table in a parking lot, doesn't matter. You're just creating a ritual. And rituals help us create a sense of belonging. A community garden plot. You don't need a green thumb. You just need curiosity, willingness, and a shared garden. And one already exists right here in Narrowsburg. If you don't know about it, Annie's here. She can tell us about it. The Tustin Heritage Community Garden. It's right over there. There's conversation. There's purpose. There's the satisfaction of watching things grow and the fun of sharing what you harvest. Research consistently shows that gardening groups reduce isolation and depression among older adults. A sunrise or a sunset gathering. Pick one morning or evening. Porch, a hillside, again, a parking lot. Anything with a good western view or eastern view if you're watching the sunrise. Just do it together. You don't have to program anything. Just show up, share the awe, and feel the connection. If you want to do something a little bit more involved, there's the idea of an outdoor story circle. Whatever you do inside, a sharing circle, a reflection, a discussion on a particular topic, you just move it outside to a courtyard, a garden, under a tree. It changes the energy. Gives you a different kind of a container for your conversation. I love bird watching. And, I do that in my screened-in porch every morning. How? I have my Merlin bird app that I use. It's a free app you can get on your phone. It identifies all the birds. You don't even actually have to look at the birds. You can just hear their song and learn to identify them that way. It's so fun. It's really meditative. It's an accessible thing to do. It's very social because people love to compare what they've heard and, which birds come to their yard. And so you heard Sharon, she likes to talk about which animals visit her. So it's also free. All of this stuff is free. So for those of you who don't see yourselves as outdoorsy, most of us aren't young or athletic or rugged anymore. Maybe we don't go camping, but if you've ever heard about the blue zones, it's research that's been done about the people that live longest in this world. People in their 90s and 100s studied by National Geographic. And most of them don't exercise. They just live in places where natural movement and exposure to the outdoor is built into daily life. It's really just about getting out of the house. If all you can do is stand outside your house, that is still something. And you shouldn't tell yourself it's nothing and thus stop yourself from doing it. Whether you're walking over to a neighbor's house, just sitting in the sun, tending a little garden patch, all of that counts and is valuable. The outdoors, it's not really a hobby, right? It's a habitat. It's where we're from. So just let yourself be who you are outside in whatever way fits who you are. And I think you'll find, because most people do, that nature meets you wherever you are. Even if you're just sitting on a bench, even if your knees hurt, even if you'd rather be inside, you might be surprised by how you start to look forward to getting outside, how much joy and healing you get from it. Hope so. And if you're feeling a little bit more adventurous, come on a walk with the Outside Institute. Our walks are very slow paced. They're often on very simple terrain. I often have older people with me, and we're just admiring and learning about everything that we encounter in our local landscapes. Can I answer any questions for you?
I have a question about you. In a story you told, you mentioned something about harvesting knotweed.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about knotweed. I just think of it as an invasive, unwanted plant. What's it good for?
Well, invasive is a term that can be applied to a lot of things. I feel like it's an easy blanket statement that quickly turns pejorative, and so I don't really love to use it. It's often used to describe non-native species, but we also have native species that have an invasive profile. I think anytime you see a monoculture of any plant, it's an indication of an imbalance. And interestingly enough, knotweed was brought here as an ornamental plant because of its beauty. And so a lot of times when we are looking to find a useful justification for a plant, I like to ask us to think about how we justify ourselves. Do we have to be useful in some way in order to be justifiably here? And I think the answer is no. And we have to learn to appreciate every plant and animal and mushroom for its own sake, whatever that may be. I value you, Tom, as an equal human being. Beyond that, you may have uses as, the organizer of this organization, or as a spouse or brother or husband. I don't know what your uses are, but beyond all that, I think we all just have a use or a purpose or a right to be here without offering up anything beyond just who we are. And the same is true with plants. That's just my personal opinion.
Thank you. That seemed to be largely a response to my use of the word invasive. Most of that answer was in response to that, I think.
No,
I was curious what knotweed.
How can we use
Why
it?
were you harvesting it?
Yeah, I'll get to that, but I do think it's important to consider that the knotweed is beautiful, and that's why it originally came here.
Okay.
Now it has developed an ability to thrive in all the areas that we have cleared. So most so-called invasive plants invade areas that we've disturbed, cut down trees, or cleared land. And a lot of them are edible, and it's wonderful that knotweed is. I don't think that by harvesting knotweed for personal use, we're really going to put a dent in it. I think it's pretty much here to stay. But if you would like to, in the early spring, so around mid-May or probably early to late May, you can harvest the tender shoots of the knotweed. While they're about this big, they easily snap off. Knotweed is in the buckwheat family, like rhubarb. It has a very similar flavor and texture to rhubarb. Breaks down very quickly when you cook it. If you were to buy it on it raw, it would be very sour and crunchy. But you can really substitute it in recipes anywhere that you would use rhubarb.
Thank you.
The root is also extremely medicinal. It's full of resveratrol, which is the same thing people are always going on about with red wine. It's highly anti-inflammatory. And so if you harvest the root bark, and roots are generally harvested in the early spring or late fall, because that's when all the energy from the plant goes back down into the root. It's not making growth. So that's when most carbohydrates and minerals and vitamins are back down in the root. So if you harvest the root of knotweed and chop that up and make a tincture out of it, it's very good medicine. A lot of herbalists will use that in a protocol for Lyme disease because of how anti-inflammatory it is. So it has multiple uses. I make a strawberry knotweed chutney. It's really good. I make a strawberry knotweed jam. I make a rosé wine aperitif that I steep knotweed in that I think I brought when I was here last time. So And some people like to eat it raw, and some people pickle it. And kids can use it as a pea shooter. So it has many uses.
Thank you.
I understand too that that you can make some kind of I think a tincture, perhaps out of the flowers that somehow supports community harmony.
I don't know about that. I have fermented the flowers into a fizzy drink, but I don't know if it's a spiritual component, but surely there probably is one.
I know, I was ranting. We were driving to the beach and I was ranting about all the knotweed. It was in bloom and I was like, what's the point? And so then I looked it up and it was like community harmony. I was like, okay.
I mean, you know, interestingly enough, the DEC, this is quite a few years ago now, was formulating a plan to eradicate knotweed from the Delaware riverbanks, which, you know, I don't know how they would do that because they can't really use chemicals near the river. So, but apparently a group of beekeepers from this area went up to Albany to petition them not to do so, saying that the late blooming knotweed is a very valuable food resource for pollinators. And if you've ever had knotweed honey, it's really delicious, right? It's dark like buckwheat honey because it's in that same family. So it's always a more nuanced conversation than just this plant is bad because it's not from here and this plant is good. Like black locust trees are a native tree and they are considered invasive in lots of parts of the state. So it's really just, there's so many different little micro ecosystems. Just depends on any given area what is truly invasive. Like for instance, the hay-scented fern that fills our forests, it has a monoculture, right? And it's basically because the deer don't like to eat it. They've eaten out all the other native, you know, flora that used to thrive in the forest, and we're left with hay-scented fern and Japanese barberry, pretty much. So, but Richard, who's my teacher that I was on the walk with yesterday, said he's come to appreciate the monoculture of hay-scented fern because it keeps out the Japanese stiltgrass. So it's all a balance. It's all interconnected. Everything we do has an effect on whoever touches us. Yeah. Anything else?
I have a question about the still grass.
Yeah.
That's been kind of taking over a lot of my property. And I've been struggling with my friend because he's been trying to pull it all up and mediate. And then I realized that if I just let certain things go, like not mowing my lawn, that it kind of keeps it at bay. Certain plants, even like mugwort, keeps it away. But there must be a reason why it's here. I mean, I know how it got here. They were using it for packing material.
What plant?
The Japanese stiltgrass. You'll see it along the roadsides.
It's like a very.
It's a beautiful grass.
It's a very tender, like pale, like lime green kind of grass that fills in the forest. It just fills in
In the
You've
ditches.
seen it many times, I'm sure, and just like, you know, our eyes kind of blur everything green together. I think that, you know, trading Japanese stiltgrass for mugwort is like frying pan into the fire. But
I don't know what to do.
people
about it,
ask me
but-
that all the time because I do a lot of private land assessments, and people are always saying, "What should I do with this invasive plant on my land?" And I'm like, if this is your property that you want to have a specific vision for the whatever time left you have on Earth, do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It's a blip. You know,
Yeah,
this
I'm all
fog
about
that we
letting
went
it
to.
go.
What's that?
I'm all about letting it go.
And that's fine. You're the caretaker of that land, and that's your vision, and you can have it. And that somebody else will come after you, and they might have a different vision. But you know, are we going to be able to have a serious impact on non-native plants that are thriving here? we're not going to be able to, in my opinion. Not without using extremely harsh chemicals, and that will have an adverse effect on so many other things. So it's either the sweat of your brow pulling things up and trying to replace them with something else, or a laissez-faire attitude, in which you accept that plants are just doing what they're born to do, which is thrive. There's no right answer, I don't think.
But don't you think that part of legacy, because that's what we all do, we leave a legacy whether we want to or not. Everybody leaves a legacy. I think that you have to have an intention with what you do in order to promote some sort of, for example, when I was deciding I wanted to grow some fruit trees, my decision was first and foremost, get pawpaw in, because it is the only tree that is a fruit-bearing tree that is native to Pennsylvania. And you really, there are no others. The cherry, the apple, all of those are from elsewhere, but pawpaws are actually native to Pennsylvania. So my thought was, let me get those growing so that the seeds will disperse and it has a chance. My legacy, hopefully, is that we can repopulate the native environment with native plants. And I think that it's worthy to think about those things rather than just going, oh, well, whatever grows, grows. And, you know, you can do what you want and all that sort of thing. I think there should be some thought behind what it is that is in a greater context than just, oh, well, I like it, so let's do that.
I think that's a very nice idea. And I think it's great that you're doing that with your land. Yeah.
Do they sell pawpaw trees here?
You can find them,
Never seen it.
but
Commercial.
they're a very weird plant because they grow in an aspect where they just do bilateral. There's no, most trees will grow with directionally, it doesn't matter. But they are like, okay, I'm growing up this way, and that's the way they grow, and it's very beautiful. And they're the first ones that bloom in the spring. They're very early bloomers, and they bloom before the leaves come out. They're amazing little, yeah, you can find them. The ones that I have were bought up for me by a friend who went to a pawpaw festival.
Yeah, it's about 4 hours away. But some people from this area go every year. The thing about pawpaws is that they're kind of, they acclimate better to certain areas. Like they don't grow in New York, really. They might, depending on what kind of little microclimate you're in. They're also dioecious, which means that you need to have a male and a female on your property when you're thinking about doing it. Yeah, there's lots of other fruit-bearing trees that are native. Hawthorns. I mean, there's many different kinds of fruit-bearing plants and trees that you can find in this area if you're interested.
So about the community garden, it's right behind the public library, down Tomorrow Lane, just to the right there, and I actually have one plot left, a 4x8 plot, if anybody's interested, or I would be happy to offer it to the group for free. It's like a member donation, suggested donation kind of organization or nonprofit, but I would be happy to offer it to the group if some of the members would like to take it on.
What a great offer. You guys should do it as a group. There's enough of you.
And you provide water, right?
We have a watering system. We collect the water off the library roof, and it's in holding tanks. It's gravity fed to 2 hoses to the garden. We also have free events and workshops, so there's a lot of public gatherings with the
And if
community.
you're worried about mobility, there's a picnic table with a bench. You can just drive up to the entrance, walk in and sit down and just enjoy the garden.
We have a
It's really
shade
beautiful.
tarp now, so there's some shade. It's got this bucolic view of the Delaware right there. So you can also just sit there and enjoy. It's a pollinator friendly garden, so we have a lot of bees and insects and birds. And there are 2 picnic tables actually now. And there's about 22 plots, different members of the community. There's a plot that is maintained by the library youth program. So there's some children there occasionally on weekends, and it's just lovely. It really is. If you go there in the evening, it's the best because it does get full sun all day, mornings or evenings, and it's every time I go, there's a different happening going on with some kind of pollinator. We have a lot of milkweed. We're on the Monarch Way Station, Monarch Watch Way Station. We're on the pollinator pathways, which entails you have to have a certain amount of species of pollinator plants, and we've fulfilled that. And we're funded by Sullivan 180, but it's really a great community gathering place to have you if you're interested.
What kind of things are people growing?
So we have common herb plots that people share. People are growing all kinds of things. Tomatoes do really well there. Cucumbers, because it does get full sun.
It's very lush.
It's
They
pretty
grow all kinds
lush.
of things,
Some
yeah.
people have strawberries. We have a couple of asparagus plots. Certain times of different seasons, you can do rotation crops. We plant garlic in the fall, and yeah, I think I did have a couple of corn stalks there one year that got quite big in a 4x8 plot. We've had a 14-foot high sunflower in one year. We do a lot of sunflowers. There's a lot of seed sharing. It is a non-GMO, organic only garden. There's no pesticides allowed or any non-organic soil supplementation. Yeah, just let me know. Yes, Laura, you could get in touch with me. Think about it.
How long has the water system there?
It's been there. I think it's been like 15 years.
15.
Yeah.
Good question. How do you get water?
Can you unmute or?
No, she has to. Tamara, are you muted?
I am muted, but I unmuted. I did not know the parameters for the garden, that it was just organic. So I would definitely be interested. How large is the plot? And yeah, I would go in on it with someone. But and how much does it cost to get involved? I would love it. And Laura, thank you so much. I have a patch of knotweed on my property here. It's not really my property, I'm renting. But after, I think I heard you talk of knotweed. I don't remember, but you had me thinking of it so differently. So now I think of it as a patch and I do manage it because I don't want it to totally overtake the riverbank. But I am definitely interested in making tinctures from it for sure. I make tinctures and like skin balms from other things, but I've just been managing the plot, but I call it a plot now. And I'm very much interested in, and I do think it's beautiful, but I just don't want it to overtake the entire riverbank. But yeah, I have heard that about using it for lime, but I haven't done it yet. So thank you very much for your presentation today. It's always wonderful to hear you talk. It's just
Thank
a
you.
treat.
It's my
Thank
pleasure. Yeah, I'm not an advocate for knotweed or anything. I'm just saying if it's here, I feel like anyone that wants to try to clear it from the riverbank by continuous mowing or getting goats, or
There's
smothering it.
another online.
Oh,
Oh yeah, I feel the same way. But oh, please let me know about the garden here in town. Definitely interested.
Okay, great. I can also tell you our email address. It's very simple. It's Tustin, Tusten, H as in Harry, C, G as in garden @gmail.
TustinHCG@gmail.
Yes. So you want me to email you instead of talking about
It
it?
sounds like Annie's offering the plot for free to this group if
Oh
you
wow.
can find some other members to go in on it with you. It's not about an expense, it's just about a commitment.
Annie, would
Right.
you be willing to talk in a few weeks, one Sunday, about, have a discussion about the garden?
I could. I'm away until the 25th.
Okay.
From this week to the 25th. But I
Sharon,
could do it sometime in
Sharon,
July.
you have a question?
So, thank you for that.
I do.
That offer.
Yeah.
Wait till they's finished up. I deal with a lot of, I deal with enough people that have either had drug problems or continued to battle with them. And I was just wondering if there were any, I mean, I don't quite understand it because I don't have that problem, but, and I just wanted to know if there was any studies or actual programs where nature has helped people who, I know they have lots of things for lots of different problems, but I'm just wondering if nature has helped anyone that has had a problem with drugs or is battling it and really wants to relieve themselves of their problem. I'm just wondering about it.
Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by nature, but they've definitely, paradoxically perhaps, but discovered that there are psychoactive natural substances that really help people with addiction, like psilocybin. And, as I spoke about today, there's a lot of scientific studies done around nature's ability to address depression and other kinds of mental illness. So I don't know of anything firsthand, but
Okay,
I'm
I will look
certain.
into it, but thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your talk. I have lots of things. The thing that I'm so fascinated with storytelling, and I always mean to host a storytelling, but I love the idea of the outdoor storytelling because it seems like people would just show up, right? They don't have to.
Gathering around the campfire pretty much goes back to the cave, I think. So, yeah.
I like it a lot. Thank you so much.
All right, well, thank you so much, Laura. So I have one more chant for you, and then we'll extinguish our chalice and have refreshments and a little fellowship. So the words of this: I'm renewed by the circling of the earth. I'm renewed by the warmth of the sun. I'm renewed by the breath of the wind in the trees. I'm renewed and refreshed by love. I'll sing it through once. I'm renewed with the circling of the earth. I'm renewed by the warmth of the sun. I'm renewed by the breath of the wind in the trees. I'm renewed and refreshed by love. I'm renewed and refreshed. I'm renewed and refreshed. I'm renewed and refreshed. I'm renewed and refreshed by love. I'm renewed with the circling of the earth. I'm renewed with the circling of the earth. I'm renewed by the warmth of the sun. Renewed by the warmth of the sun. The breath of the wind in the trees. I'm renewed by the breath of the wind in the trees. I'm renewed and refreshed by love. We'll do that one more time. Circling of the earth. I'm renewed with the circling of the earth, by the warmth of the sun. I'm renewed by the warmth of the sun, breath of the wind in the trees. I'm renewed by the breath of the wind in the trees. I'm renewed and refreshed by the. I'm renewed and refreshed. I'm renewed and refreshed. I'm renewed and refreshed. I'm renewed and refreshed. I am one more time. Circling of the earth. I'm renewed by the circle of the earth from the sun. I'm renewed by the warmth of the sun. I'm renewed by the breath of the wind in the trees. I'm renewed and refreshed by love. I'm renewed and refreshed by love. I'm renewed and refreshed.
So we'll extinguish our Chavez. So we extinguish this Chavez with the idea that we are all connected. We are connected. Earth, sun, plants, the insects, and we are all connected. You will remember this until we are together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyway,
Thanks. I'll contact you, Annie. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Laura and Lori.
Tamara,
Yes.
can you call me later this afternoon?
Yes, I can, Heidi, for sure.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you then.